right? Now, how do you know how many words you got in your speech? Do you count it manually? Yes, Microsoft Word, there's a tool, right? Word count, and it helps you, let you know how many words you got. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you write only 300 words for your first draft? And you stop right there and then? No. You have to write, for example, about 400 words, 450, or even 500. And then you start to trim them down. By doing that, you force yourself to choose the right word, to use the right sentence structure, to have simple, easy sentence structure for the audience to listen to. You will then force yourself to come up with a very powerful speech. Try to filter it down to the words you need to say. Okay? So, now that we have a good theme, we have a good speech title, a catchy speech title, we have advanced preparation, we have spice it up, we have time it to perfection. What's next? We have to have presentation. That's right, we have to present it. Food you get in fast food restaurants. What kind of presentation you get? I use one word. Messy. I especially hate the way they slap the toppings on my rice, especially when it comes with sauce. It's so messy, right? Agree? In upscale restaurants, on the other hand, most likely, or a lot of times, their dishes is decorated so beautifully. Sometimes you hesitate to eat it. Because they look so beautiful, they don't want to destroy how it looks, right? The same thing. In the contest, we must have good presentation. Remember, have anyone seen the judging criteria? In the judging criteria, the judges is supposed to give marks for the content, the speech itself, and they are also required to give marks on the style and effectiveness of the speaker. Okay? Now, if you don't have any presentation, you stand there and deliver your speech. It's like you're fighting a war, a battle with only one arm, right? And your chance of winning it will be very slim. So, an ordinary speech, because of lack of preparation, most likely the speaker will rely on a piece of note, right? And they will reading their speech from that piece of note. They won't be able to have good eye contact with the audience. They won't be able to have hand gestures. Sometimes, if they ever dare to do the speech without a piece of note, you catch them trying to recall the next line. How do you know when someone is trying to recall the next line? They try to roll their eyes towards the corner, like that. That's a sign that they are trying to recall the next line. So next time you see someone do that, you know what they're doing. Right? Even worse, they could forget their speech totally in the middle of the speech. And it's very embarrassing, it's very messy. Right? So, how do you have good presentation in your speech, in your contest? Good presentation comes from you, the speaker. And it involves everything from your head down to your toes. Right? First, start with your eyes. You must have good eye contact with the audience. Since you don't have to rely on a script or even a cue card. Well, you can use cue card, but make sure you just glance at it just occasionally, all right? Then you'll be able to have good eye contact with the audience. How do you do eye contact with the audience? Look at one of them for a couple of seconds, move on to the next, covering the audience from the left, or from the right to the left, from the back front to the back. Right? When you do that, the audience will feel that you are actually talking to them. They feel that you are communicating with them, and it will be more bidirectional. Next is our facial expression. Make sure, as a speaker, our facial expression is congruent to our message. If you are talking about things that are sad, do you put on a smile? Of course no. See, if you put on a smile, the audience will feel that you are not sincere. You're not genuine. And they will be confused. Okay? When you get on the stage, the first thing that you should do, put on a smile. That will warm the audience. Right? Next, vocal variety. I'm sure all of us here have heard of speakers who are very flat and monotonous. Right? And it bored us to death. So how can we have vocal variety in our speech? Two ways. By varying the pace of our delivery and varying the voice, the volume of the voice. The pace. Talk faster if you are covering the not so important things in your speech. Slow down when you are stressing the more important point in your speech. When you slow down, you're actually stressing to the audience that, hey, listen, this is important, you better listen. Slow down. Right? And when you slow down, you also give time for the audience to absorb and to follow what you're saying. Varying the voice. Sometimes we need to speak louder, sometimes we speak softer. Now, I'm sure there are people who naturally have a very soft voice. How many of you think you have a very soft voice? Everyone have a very loud voice? That's very good. You are very gifted. Now, for those who have very soft voice, what can you do to enhance your vocal projection? Well, I'm not an expert on voice, but I think the following two suggestions might help. First, try to imagine, or if possible, have some real friends standing far away from you and speak to them. Right? Try to speak louder every time. And I'm sure eventually, through practice, through conscious practice, you're able to raise your voice even just a little bit. The second method is try to put down in your script what specific area you will need to raise your voice. Right? Find a couple of areas and mark in your speech what specific areas you need to raise your voice. And then you practice again and again when you rehearse. Right? Practice the places where you need to raise your voice. And through practice, it will become second nature. And then you will be able to have vocal variety when you're delivering it on stage. If you do not practice, you just say, okay, this is where I'm going to have vocal variety. The moment you get on the stage, I guarantee you forget everything about vocal variety. And then you go back to speaking in your normal tone.